2024 has been another wild year in metal rock. I've seen 113 bands live, and picking the 10 best, that was not easy. But these 10 shows weren't just great, some of them were simply unforgettable. On my list this year is everything from classic rock to black metal. There are big bands, there are small bands, new bands, old bands, and everything in between. But stick around, there will be some surprises, and the first place went somewhere I didn't really see coming, but that was a jaw-dropping experience. And then at the end, I'm gonna throw in 5 honorable mentions of bands that almost made the cut. They made great shows, but they didn't make the top 10. But this is my top 10 concerts of 2024. I have a complicated relationship with Behemoth. Their albums, not my thing, but their live shows, always epic. And this year, they cramped it up even more, creating a Rocco Siffredi moment for the band that have to come on after them. Let's see what I said in my review. Their energy and sound was great. The stage show is amazing with fire, stairs, and a really cool backdrop. Adam Nergal was good with the crowd. I didn't really see this one coming. I tried to resist for like 2 to 3 songs, but then I just kind of gave in and admitted that this is fucking great. I really feel sorry for Heathen to come on after Behemoth. It must be like coming home and Rocco Siffredi is leaving your bedroom. You just don't go in there. So overall, yeah, the energy and just the theatrics and kind of the relentless drive of this show just made it very memorable. Hellripper is a one-man band from Scotland that plays black and thrash metal in its rawest and most intense form somehow. It's a band that had been on my radar for a while, so I was super excited to go and see them live. Long story short, they fucking knocked it out of the park. Considering that I saw them really early in the year, in February, and I had more than 100 bands left to see, I made a very bold prediction. It's unreal. The set list was 11 songs, a mix from all 3 albums, and the sound was great. This music is just perfect for a venue like this, and I actually thought when I was watching this, I wouldn't want to be in the band that comes on stage after this. This was like a 11 out of 10 performance, I would say, and I can promise you now already on the 4th of February that this gig will go on my top 2024, and there is plenty of stuff to go. Those who know me here know that I see over 100 bands live per year. So if you haven't seen Hellripper, go see them. If you don't know Hellripper, go get to know them. So here we are, some 100 and something bands later, and Hellripper is still up there amongst the best. And as a bonus, I got to interview James McBain, the guy behind Hellripper, and his kind of do-it-yourself method, it's super inspiring, and it shows you can actually make a living from music without being part of the mainstream. Now here's a twist. In 2008, the Smashing Pumpkins gave me one of the worst concert experiences that I've ever had. So why go again? I guess my concert addiction won, and thanks God it did. But there were also some killer goosebump moments on this show, and I get goosebumps now when I talk about it. Mayonnaise, Cherub Rock, and Rhinoceros was just amazing. Now the band was super tight and delivered with really high octane energy somehow. The lineup seems to be like a killer lineup. I really like kind of the balance of how this lineup works. Corgan's singing and guitars were spot on. Nothing wrong with that. Jimmy Chamberlain, he's just in a league of his own as a drummer. The Smashing Pumpkins completely redeemed themselves, making me feel like I was back in the Siamese Dream, melancholy days, and Billy Corgan and co., they're back on my playlist where they belong. This band is responsible for one of the best hard rock albums ever made. I'm talking about the cult Sonic Temple. But I had sort of accepted the fact that I would probably never get to see this band live. So when they announced they were coming to town, I felt like a kid waiting for Christmas. But I also had some doubts, and I elaborated on that a little bit in my video. I had to go and see if the magic that drew me to this band was still there. Would Billy Duffy be as cool as I imagined? Would Ian Astbury be as arrogant as people tell me he can be live? Could he still sing at the age of 62, or would I have to step in and help? Of this, there was amazing sound there, just top-notch sound. Most of the hits were there, at least the hits that I wanted to hear. I didn't feel that there was a lot of stuff that I could say was missing. They drove it through really well. They never allowed the energy in the venue or anything to drop. Ian Astbury's bad boy attitude actually worked. I liked it. It was arrogant, but it was cool. So this show ended up being super fun. And yes, indeed, I did help out with the backing vocals. It was during E.T. that I realized I gotta step up and support my boy Ian Astbury. So when they played Fire Woman, I took matters into my own hands. My concert review of this gig has a lot of comments, and they're all positive, and that tells me that this band is having some sort of a phenomenal tour. And the fact that there are so many girls commenting on it tells me that Ian Astbury, he still has it. Canon and Hellripper blew my mind 2 years ago in a tiny little club in Prague, so I was super happy to see them again. Those of you who don't know Canon, then it's an atmospheric black metal band from Germany, and they have their themes are sort of World War I, you know, outfits, even sometimes weapons on stage, military and political speeches in the intros to the song, and then the lyrics are based on real live letters from soldiers on the front. But after that show 2 years ago, I just really couldn't put my finger on what it was that they actually had that made it so special. But once I'd seen them again now recently, it just clicked for me. But all this stuff is easy, let's say. I mean, bands can have themes, costumes, lights, shows, cool lyrics, cool language, but when I was standing on the fringes of the mosh pit, it just came to me what it is that makes this so different. When I watched the crowd, I realized they were not just listening, they were living the music. And then it hit me, they're all singing along. They have these crazy sing-along choruses that are not super common in black metal. And this band is blowing up. It's super interesting to watch. And I think they've created something that I want to call arena black metal. I think it has a much wider appeal than traditional black metal, let's say, and I think they can serve as a gateway to recruit more people into the black metal movement. If you're enjoying this list, now might be the perfect time to hit that like button and subscribe, and let me know in the comments, guys, which concerts did you enjoy this year? And obviously, having seen 113 bands live, not all of them can be good, so make sure to check out my video about the 7 worst performances in 2024. Dirty Honey was a fresh breath of air for an old classic rock fan for me. I got hooked on their studio sound, but I had serious doubt that they can pull it off live. Knew the band, Dirty Honey. I did an album review on Can't Find the Breaks late last year, and they were on my top 10 albums of 2023 list by the end of the year as well. But I was doubtful if they could recreate that energy live that they do on the album. The venue isn't really great, and I was actually going there alone, so I wasn't sure that this would be a great one. I'm gonna give this concert 10 out of 10. I can highly recommend this. The band was fun, the crowd was fun, and even the lonely guy had fun. Dirty Honey is doing something that most bands can't do. They're actually managing to follow in the footsteps of the great masters like Aerosmith, Led Zeppelin, and those bands. So if you like this music, then you will like Dirty Honey. Now, Dirty Honey just nailed it. Even in a club with a questionable sound, they could deliver equally good as on their albums. And I love this band because they have this raw energy, but still like really professional execution somehow. And I think this band can become much bigger. Inflames is a band that keeps me guessing each time I see them. The first time I saw them, amazing show. Second time, so. And then the third time, something completely different. So let's see what I said in my concert review. Despite both Arch Enemy and Soilwork putting on a really good show, they were just not a match to Inflames on this night. Inflames has some sort of a dynamic that they have. Obviously, they have a large catalog that's kind of varied or diverse, let's say. So they can kind of pull on stuff and be, instead of uplifting and fun, they can be dark and heavy, which they definitely did on this night. The atmosphere was great, and to a large part, obviously, that's thanks to Anders Fried and how he is. The sound was perfect, and the crowd, it was on fucking fire. I think that Inflames are currently in a league of their own of the touring melodic death metal bands. They just have some X factor that I really can't put my finger on. And I would actually be tempted to go and see them for the 4th time in 4 years next year, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to see the 4th different version of Inflames. Bruce Dickinson is obviously a legend. It's a guy that I've been listening to since I was like 8 or 9 years old or something like that. But I was skeptical about this show. I've never really been into his solo material. And then I had seen him with Iron Maiden in 2023, and that was kind of an underwhelming performance. I even thought to myself, is it nearing the end for this guy? But it turned out very differently. So let's see what I said after I saw his set at Masters of Rock in July. But the star of the show is clearly Bruce himself. Now, I've seen Bruce many times through the years, and I've always kind of been waiting for the moment where he can't perform up to the standard that he himself helped setting for this genre. But he was on fire that night. His singing was spot on. He was his usual self, running around, jumping, working the crowd. But there was also different from when I saw him last year with Iron Maiden. You can see my review on that up here, actually. He was having fun at this concert. He really enjoyed being there. You had the feeling that this was the only place in the world that he actually wanted to be. He got everyone to sing along and all that stuff. And there was this hilarious moment where this huge septic trucks, for some reason, had to drive through the middle of the crowd super slowly. And Bruce just stopped the concert and narrated the whole thing and said that if this thing explodes, I'm definitely going to be the owner of the shittiest show ever done. Now, Bruce Dickinson is just a different beast solo. I mean, he has so much energy. These songs were so good. The band was so great. They fucking nailed it, and I fucking loved it. Now, this next band has been hyped. I mean, if you have like 10 million views on YouTube when you're covering Enter Sandman, you're bound to become big. We're talking about The Warning here. I've been following this band for some time and, you know, obviously impressed and so on, but I had never seen them live, so I was very excited to get to see them. It actually turned out to be more than a concert. I think it was kind of a glimpse into the future. Let's see what I said in my review back then. Today, I had covered this band earlier, an episode about up-and-coming bands that I thought would break big in 2024, so I was kind of excited to see this band, but I also had my doubts. Would this band, 3 of them, be able to produce a proper sound live? I'd been listening to the set list on Spotify, and I wasn't really impressed. It didn't really get me going somehow. And then I thought, okay, is this gonna be just kids and teenagers, you know, because these are 3 young girls from Mexico? Now, will this be the best concert that I see this year? Well, the positive is that the atmosphere was just amazing. It was blood, sweat, and tears in this, you know. You feel that every riff, every word that comes out of their mouths, it's done with passion and effort, you know. They just, as I said, they leave it all on the stage. The sound quality, as I said, was one of the best that I've heard here. And this mix that they have with just these 3 instruments, it's just amazing how they managed to get it this thick and rich and deliver still with clarity somehow. These songs that they're playing, they're just made for live, you know. Like, for me, this is so much better live than it is in the studio, for sure. Now, the negatives, I can't really say any negatives. That next time it should definitely be a bigger venue. So I'm actually gonna give this concert 11 out of 10. Apart from the band obviously being amazingly good, the big surprise to me also was that it was not just girls and young kids there. It was old dudes like me banging their heads. I think The Warning is the next big thing. I think they're gonna take over from, you know, Metallica, ACDC, Guns N' Roses, Muse, and those bands that are kind of touring the world right now on the big stadiums. The Warning is gonna be there. Now, here we are. The best concert of 2024 was Alice Cooper. It's weird. It was kind of a checkbox for me. I just wanted to be able to say I've seen him live. I was never big on this guy or anything like that, so I had very modest expectations. Full honesty, guys, this was a concert that I wasn't super excited about. I almost didn't go there, and when I got there, I almost didn't get in. But things actually turned out different than I expected. When we heard and saw this stuff starting, we looked at each other, me and my friend, and were like, is this stuff real? What I was surprised about was the energy of the band and how heavy this stuff is versus when you hear it on the albums. Because of course I've heard the studio versions, but this was so much heavier somehow. The theatrics and the show were super impressive. I mean, every song kind of followed the theme, and that was done with very little props. I was surprised. I mean, they had 2 staircases and stuff like that on the side of the stage, but they actually managed with that interplay between the projections, the lights, and those limited props, plus of course a lot of other stuff that I'll come to later, to make it very grand somehow. Alice got executed, you know. He got put into a straitjacket, you know. He stabbed people. He had a live cobra that he patted repeatedly during the song Snakebite. So all this stuff was there. It was kind of like a horror show, but the cream on top was that the songs were super good, super heavy, and sounded amazing. Now, from start to finish, this show was just a spectacle. I honestly didn't want this to end. I was sitting there, I want more of this, just to kind of the merge between the music and the show and the whole thing around it. It was just amazing. And at this age, I mean, the guy is fucking 76 years old. He's really kind of setting the standard high. I mean, like, this show, I don't think I will ever see anything like this. I really do hope that I get to see Alice Cooper live more times in my life. And based on what I saw this summer, this guy is not slowing down. But there were also a few shows this year that didn't make the top 10, but still left a mark. And I want to show them some love, so these are my honorable mentions. First up is Glenn Hughes. Seeing Glenn Hughes perform his Deep Purple material in one of the last celebration shows that he was doing during the year was just amazing. The band was great, he was great, he can sing like an angel. And I got to sit down with him and do an interview, and I was totally starstruck. Next up is Overkill. That felt like going into a thrash metal time machine. It was a very raw and old school performance, and the cherry on top was Bobby Blitz with his amazing humor. He made fun of himself, made fun of the fans, the band, everything. It was just a great performance. Next up is the Dead Daisies. I went in there knowing nothing about this band and I left very impressed. I mean, just the pure talent on this stage, you know, rap beats on guitar, bassist from Whitesnake, drummer that is amazing, and the frontman, John Corabi, he's just in a league of his own. He was great with the crowd, great with the rest of the band. It was a pure rock and roll show. Definitely recommend. Orbit Culture, recommended by many subscribers on my channel. I went in blind, I left as a fan. They have this kind of relentless riffing and anthemic choruses. It reminds me of some hybrid between Gojira and Cataclysm or something like that. So I definitely like this band and I highly recommend it. And the highlight there was that one of the guitarists was shredding in the crowd. And the fifth honorable mention is Obituary, one of my favorite death metal bands of all time. They were opening up for Sepultura on the farewell tour just recently. And they delivered. It was super tight, super heavy. The sound was great. The crowd was on fire. This was the best that I've ever seen Obituary, and I really hope that this continues because I want to see them again like this. So there you have it. These are my best concerts of 2024. I'm curious to hear in the comments what were your best concerts of this year. And let's keep going, guys. Here are the 7 worst concerts of 2024. I'm gonna see you over there.